Vistage is the largest CEO peer-to-peer advisory group in the world, and it's an incredible organization. And I got to sit down with Tim Gray, who is a regional executive for Vistage, and just an incredible guy. Tim is a big deal at Vistage. I had a great one-to-one with Tim, all about how he got started, how he transitioned into Vistage, and then what's going on with Vistage and all the great things they're doing. So you're gonna love this interview. Let's go jump in. Hi, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock. I'm the founder and president of Giant Jacks Media. Welcome to Giant TV. Really excited for my guest today here, Tim Gray, who is a senior leader in the South region for Vistage. Welcome, Tim.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, Tim, you and I have known each other for a few years now. I had a chance to meet in person a while back. Vistage is doing so many great things. And before we get into what you're doing with Vistage, I'd love to learn a little bit about your background, how you got started, and then how you got involved with Vistage.
Yeah, so it's I won't say it's a very exciting background, but I'll share a little bit of it with you. So I was born and raised here in North Carolina, where I live currently, Chapel Hill. Went to school here at the University of North Carolina many moons ago. As a matter of fact, I predate Michael Jordan here, as I like to tell people. Older than Michael. And
it's anyway, almost like the Lord, pre Michael and post Michael, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. PM either way. So I spent a lot of my career though working for a company called Dun & Bradstreet. Actually, that's where I got started right out of college, minus a 10-month stint at a radio station in Charlotte. If anybody ever watched the television series back in the early 80s, I'm dating myself now, called WKRP in Cincinnati.
Loved it.
That is what the station I worked for looked like. And I was the fourth rep in a 12-rated station in a 13-station market. So needless to say, my wife and I needed to eat more regular than that was providing. So I sought a position with Dun & Bradstreet, got that, started out as a sales rep for them. Spent 36 years there ultimately. Wow. And wound up my career there leading sales teams and operational teams around the country, one of which was in your neck of the woods in Orange, California, Paul.
Yeah, but, we were talking about that offline.
Yeah. So Dun & Bradstreet was a great place to be. It was a great learning environment for me to learn mostly how to be a really, what I think is a qualified and good leader, and taught me many lessons that I brought to Vistage. And so to give you a little bit of that story, how I got here at Vistage, in 2014, Dun & Bradstreet, at the ripe young age of 60, decided, hey, it's been a nice 36-year run, ready to see you go now, and here's a little money to walk out the door. And so I took them up on their offer, and I walked out the door, and I did a little bit of sales consulting for about a year, but didn't like the life on an airplane every week, basically there for a year. And then just out of the blue, I got a phone call from someone who was doing some executive searching for Vistage, and they said, hey, we think we have an opportunity here that you might be very interested in. So I didn't know anything about Vistage, so I did my research really quickly and did a couple of interviews, flew to San Diego, did a round of interviews with the executive leadership team, and then a week later got my offer to be a regional executive.
Oh, okay.
And to kind of muddy the waters, though, my boss-to-be called me the day I got the offer and said, listen, I have some good news and I have some bad news for you. And I said, let's get the bad news. Well, no, let me reverse that. I said, let's get the good news out of the way. Well, I'm going to give you an offer to be a regional exec here at Vistage. I said, that is good news. Now, I was living in Richmond, Virginia at the time, so I thought I was going to be covering like the Mid-Atlantic area.
Yeah.
And he said, here's the bad news. I need for you to move to Austin, Texas, because that's where I really need you more than I need you in the Mid-Atlantic area. So obviously, I don't make any key decisions without, counseling with my wife.
Of course.
Years. And she said, yes, we got one last big hurrah left in us. Let's move to Austin. We did. I fell in love with Vistage and the work that we do here almost just immediately.
And Austin's an incredible town.
Austin's a great town. It was a very vibrant city, growing like crazy. So we had a great 4-year experience there. Our business at Vistage was doing well. Personally, we loved living there. We got an opportunity to come back here to North Carolina right at the beginning of 2020, pre-pandemic.
Yep.
And we took it because we had family here, and
Yeah.
it was the right thing to do at the time. So we moved here, and we've been here for the last 3 years. But Vistage, great place to wind up, concluding one's career, if you will, ultimately. Not
Yep.
yet, but
Yep.
somewhere down the road.
Yeah, no, what a great story, Tim. And what are you doing at Vistage? Like, what is your main focus day to day in your projects and things
Yeah.
you're doing?
So we have an interesting business model here, as you well know. We have chairs who actually have our members as their clients, if you will. So it's a really kind of a triangular relationship that we have. Our chairs are our partners, and we have a revenue share model with them. And then they sign up members to be a part of their Vistage group. So my responsibility in the South is I have 150 of these chairs that I have a relationship with. They don't work for me technically, but
Right.
I kind of look at them as my team, if you will.
Of course.
And so my role at Vistage is really to be the CEO, and I call that the Chief Encouragement Officer for all of them, to get them to want to do more for Vistage, to add more members to their groups, for those members to be able to get the same value that their current members are, to build additional Vistage groups, to really grow the business by virtue of this channel that we have. It's really an indirect channel, if you will. And so each and every day, that's what I do. Is I talk to our chairs. I actually recruit new chairs to come into our business, and I do all those things. Really, just three things I always tell my CEO Sam Reese that I do. I talk to my existing chairs about adding more members. I
Yep.
talk to new chairs about coming on board and being a part of Vistage, and I always take your meetings, Sam.
Mhm.
And those are three things that I really focus on at Vistage.
Yeah, and I've seen you also speak, Tim, at some of the executive summits, and you really command the stage up there. So I know you do some of that too. And it's interesting when you're
Thank
talking
you.
about when you're talking about the chairs, Tim. You've got a wide swath there of different chairs around the country. I've met a lot of them with diverse backgrounds, but is there a common thread among chairs that you're looking for, or is it the opposite? It's the uniqueness of chairs. So what goes into that?
Well, it's a difficult thing to describe, but let me give it my best shot here. I think it's more is the common thread than the uniqueness. And when I say common thread, it's not really the credentials that they have. We have different types of personas on our team as chairs. We have people that have been former CEOs. We have people that have been executive coaches. We have people that have run executive search firms. We have people that have been consultants all over the board in terms of what their past has been. The common threads, and I really boil it down to three things that I really look for when I'm talking to a prospective new chair, is really the ability to be really pretty keen at business development, because that's part of what you do here. With our help, of course, is
Yep.
you attract people that are going to be in your group and they want to join your Vistage group because you're the chair. And secondly, they've got to be able to be extremely empathic in their listening, listening to understand, but not to respond. And thirdly, the thing that I look for is, does this person have the ability to care deeply about their members, their member candidates as they start out as, and then create that relationship that goes on and on and on with that member. If they have those three qualities and they're very engaging, they have the background or credentials, if you will, to be a good chair, no matter what their past has been. They've got to have a general degree of business acumen, but those three things really are elevated beyond that, because if you've got those three things, then you've got the ability to bring a team of people together, coalesce them, and help them get tremendous value out of the model that we have.
Yeah, the empathic listening you mentioned, I think, is so on target, because that's a lost art, I think, in conversation today. People are talking at each other. I always think about that. But so, and those qualities are important, Tim, in the chair, because the role of the chair is well, you can describe it, but it's not only facilitating the group, but they get into the gutter and the trenches one-on-one with their members too, right?
Oh, they do, and their role, is probably actually less of a coach than it is of a, well, let me say a coach that has a team that really understands the playbook. And let me explain what I mean by
Yeah.
that. We have a very specific model and framework, as you know, that we use at Vistage to help our members, come in and solve some of the issues they're working on, or tackle some of the opportunities they have. And we have a very specific framework that we leverage to help them, come out with a very positive end result about that. So the chair's role is to make sure that they facilitate a great meeting and that framework works for the members. Chair is not there to solve the problems, for the members, which often is kind of a misnomer and a misunderstanding, if you will, about how our model works. They're there to facilitate and train that team on how to use the framework. And some of our best chairs, you might walk into their meeting and say they're relatively non-participatory in this, are they not? And some of our best chairs are exactly that because they've taught their members how to use the model. They're there to guide the ship and make sure that everything stays on track. But our best groups, our best high-performing groups, are those that really don't really need the chair to insert themselves that much in the process.
Right. Very interesting. And I've had a chance to see behind the scenes with some of the chairs and hear what they do, and the one-to-ones, Tim, they're doing. So they're meeting as a group monthly, and then one-to-ones monthly too.
One-to-ones monthly, and those one-to-ones, Paul, are designed really to be sessions about the chair asking the member questions to get them to really open up about things that are going on in their business that they may need to be addressing, and then encourage them, to bring that back to the group next month. So the group is a collective body of wisdom, diversity, not only diversity of industry, diversity of gender, diversity of ethnicity. There's going to be a lot of different perspectives sitting at that table that can be helpful to them. And the chair's role is to make sure that member brings it back to the group, not to try to solve it in that one-to-one session they're having with them. That's where a beautiful chair who's doing great work is really at their best, is getting that member to open up to the rest of the group. Here's my problem. I need help.
Yep. No, fantastic. And then the groups that the chairs are building, are you encouraging them to start out with certain types of groups, and what are the options they have?
Yeah, so it's a good question, Paul. And this has kind of changed for us, I'd say, over the past 5 years rather dramatically. Everybody does start with the CEO group. This is a group of, either presidents or CEOs that are hired by the company, or they may be an owner operator as well. But that's where you start. And then underneath that CEO, they're going to have other levels of leadership within that business. And so we've developed other groups that we call them, developmental groups, if you will. The key executive group, as its name implies, is really intended for the people in the C-suite under that CEO. And it's a very comparable model to what the CEO model looks like. They do not have a one-to-one there. And then coming down the list, not to go too deep in the weeds here, we have an advancing leader group, which is kind of like that middle level of leadership within an organization that has strong functional responsibility to deliver results, but they don't report directly into the CEO. And then lastly, we have a group for brand new leaders or even high potential individuals called emerging leaders.
Oh, okay.
And this is a 12-month, actually a 2-year curriculum that we built for our chairs and these members. And over 2 years, our chairs roll out this curriculum on all the soft skills that we've identified that you really need as a leader. So a chair can come into Vistage and, start with a CEO group, but they can have one of each of these over time because they want to be able to work with different levels within that organization. And it also gives the chair, the ability to have diversity in who they work with, and they don't get bored with working with one, type of executive, if you will. So it's really worked out well for us. And that's an explosive growth area for us in the last 3 years, are those leadership development groups under the CEO group.
Very interesting. And what I've seen at Vistage, I think is so cool, is that these chairs are obviously entrepreneurial people, and they've got an entrepreneurial spirit. They've been successful in their own right, but the Vistage has an incredible infrastructure there. So it's not like they're out there without a paddle. Got the infrastructure, but yet they can still be entrepreneurial. It just seems like it's a marriage of two, which works great.
It is a great marriage, Paul, because, at Vistage, they're not buying a franchise. They're not putting down a lot of money, as you would say when you buy a franchise. We're allowing you to come in and really build a Vistage group or Vistage practice within, like you just articulated, a very significant framework that supports you in all aspects: marketing, communications, finance, almost every functional area you can imagine, we're supporting that chair and their practice. And all they have to do really is focus on delivering value to their members through the framework we've established for them, and also to add to their practice, which is what we hope they do, and build it and add, an opportunity for them to serve more people, but also helps Vistage grow its business as well. So it is a perfect unity of bringing that entrepreneur together who wants to build something, but has got all these assets surrounding him or her to help them in the process.
Love it. Love it. I've got to tell everybody listening that you've got to get connected to Tim. So we're going to stream this everywhere. So people may be watching this on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, who knows where, but Tim's information is going to be connected to this video wherever you're watching it. I encourage you to get connected. What I know is that Tim's a big deal at Vistage. Tim, you maybe don't like me saying that, but Tim's a good guy to get connected to. So connect, Tim. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Yeah,
Thank
love
you,
to have
Paul.
you. Yeah, you're welcome, and we'll talk again.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me today.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.